question and answer button on your Zoom app, and that's where we will be collecting questions as we go through the webinar, so that we end today with everybody feeling confident. I do I'm going to put out a disclaimer at the beginning. I can't guarantee that I have the answers to all of your questions, because some of them we're still trying to figure out. And you may have a great question that we didn't think of, and that's what these meetings are for. It's a very important part of the reopening process. You know, I as an administrator am very comfortable with the plan that we've put together. I've looked at a number of other plans throughout the diocese and also at public school districts, and everyone has been trying very, very hard to ensure that we've all created plans at every school that children are safe and that learning can occur. So I don't look at anybody's plan with a critical eye. What I do is I look at other plans and I look at what we've decided to do. And I feel that for our community and for our sized student population and for what we do at St. Thomas that makes us the special place that we are, we've put together a plan that I am very, very confident with. And I hope at the end of today's presentation you are as well and your questions are answered. Last night's webinar lasted about an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know if today's is going to last as long. I think we had about twice as many participants last night. So I imagine we had twice as many questions that we will have today, but maybe not. But I will be here as long as questions need to be asked and answered. So we will go through a slideshow and which will talk about the important points of the plan. And as I go through, questions may be raised, and please submit them through the Q&A button in your Zoom app, and we'll make sure that we answer them before we say goodbye. So it may be an hour and 45 minutes, but I'm not anticipating that it will be. But it might be every bit of an hour and a half. So I hope you get out of this everything that we want you to. As I said, it really is a matter of you feeling comfortable and confident as we go through this plan. So the first thing I'm going to go through are just some reopening basics for you. Yes, we are reopening for 5 days a week. Everybody can come in person to person, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, full day. I know a lot of other reopening plans have a hybrid model. And we were fortunate that we could configure our school in a way so to allow everyone to come in 5 days a week and maintain and truly exceed, I think, what most other schools are able to do. We've effectively broken the classes in pre-K through 4 in half. So each cohort will have a total number of 20 students at the max. So we've lowered our maximum class size to 20 children in pre-K through 4. And by lowering the maximum number of students in each grade cohort, we've been able to split the class so each class cohort will have 2 learning areas. So you'll have a group of maximum of 10 in one room and a group that's a maximum of 10 in another room. And that allows for 6 feet of social distance in the classroom. With only 10 desks in the classroom, we can easily socially distance, and it allows the children, and this is very, very important, that when they're not within the 6 feet and for a good portion of the day, if they're sitting at their desks, they will be they'll be further away in pre-K and through 4 than they might be in other places, and they don't necessarily have to wear their mask. When they're at their desk and the teacher has them in an instructional format, students can remove their mask. We will encourage that they continue to wear it, but it's certainly not something that they should feel guilty about taking it off and letting their face air out. That's a very important part of keeping the children healthy and safe, and that they feel comfortable wearing the mask when they have to. So a 6-foot social distance protocol is a 6-foot social distance protocol will be in each of the classrooms. And if they're not going to maintain that 6-foot social distance, they will wear a mask. Okay? So masks do not need to be worn during instruction when the students are placed 6 feet or more away from each other. They also won't wear masks during meals or scheduled breaks as long as the 6-foot distance is maintained. Now, again, we will encourage mask use even beyond the 6 feet, but we're also very realistic about how that impacts learning, how it impacts somebody's focus, and so we will make sure that those masks are on within 6 feet. That's a mandate, but we will also allow time in the classroom that they don't have to be on, and everyone's at least 6 feet away from each other. But having the desks spread out like that, number one, you're never with a group that's more than 10 students and a teacher. So that really cuts down on exposure. But the other thing is that the room is not packed full of desks. And our model allows for movement about the classroom. So particularly in the younger grades, pre-K through 4, the students are able to move about the room. There'll be activity tables set up. When students are working at those activity tables, they'll need to be masked, and we'll have polycarbonate shields, which will protect additionally the students from one another. But they'll be able to talk, they'll be able to interact, they'll be able to socialize with one another, but they'll do so safely. And they'll do so in a way that means they can come to school healthy, and we're going to do everything we can so that they go home healthy every day. And to make sure that kids come to school healthy each day, we will have a wellness check protocol. And one of those one aspect of the wellness check protocol is temperatures will be checked each day before the child comes into school. And we will have 4 staff people who will be at the 4 entrances where children will be entering the school. I will be at 1, Mrs. Gochi will be at 1, Ms. Chonsky will be at 1, and Coach Angermeyer will be at 1. And when you pull up in your car, or if a child gets off a bus, we will be there waiting, and we will take your child's temperature. And if your child has a temperature of 100 degrees or greater, they will not be allowed to enter the school. In addition to the temperature check, we're going to have all families completing wellness surveys daily. That's every day. We need to make sure that you have done a wellness check with your child, that they are not exhibiting or mentioning any of the symptoms associated with COVID-19, and that they are healthy to come to school. And that's a very, very important thing that we all need to follow. Teachers will be following that, administration will be following that, all staff will be following that, students need to follow that. And it's confession time for Mr. Kane. When my children were much younger, and Kathleen and I were both working, we had our children in daycare. And there were, in fact, some days, I will admit, where our children woke up and they were not feeling very good. And we sent them to daycare anyway. We would sometimes give them some kind of Motrin or Tylenol, and that fever would go down, and they would perk up a little bit. And it was because both, we felt we couldn't go to work because our if our child was sick, and so we would try and make that happen. Well, uh, parents, those days have to be gone. Okay. We cannot have a situation where children are coming in and they're even remotely sick. It's just a different era. And I confess that because I think most people who are listening to my voice have done something similar in their lives as parents. I get it. I'm not judging. I am simply saying we can't do that anymore. We have to keep our students safe. Okay. So if your child's not well, please do not come into school. Okay. In addition, we will not be commingling students beyond their cohort and grade section. So, for example, I'll have 20 children in kindergarten this year, and I'll have 10 of them in the kindergarten classroom, and I'm going to have 10 of them in half of the media center. And each will be set up as a brilliant learning space. It'll be a wonderful place for the children to learn. But the only children that those kindergartners will come within 6 feet of are other kindergartners. They won't come within 6 feet of first graders, and they won't come within 6 feet of second graders by design. But the kindergartners who are in the media center in the morning might be in the kindergarten classroom in the afternoon. And the children who are in the kindergarten classroom in the morning might be in the media center in the afternoon. Or the groups may interchange. We have 20 kindergartners, but we won't ever have groups of larger than 10. So all of the kindergartners will get to know all of their classmates. All of the kindergartners will learn alongside each of their classmates over the course of the year. And the same is true for pre-K, and the same is true for first grade and second grade and third grade and fourth grade. So we've split the classes in half. And so we will have a primary teacher and we will have an academic support aide working in each of the classes. And the primary teacher is driving the curriculum and writing the curriculum and doing the evaluations and everything that the teacher's supposed to do. But in the name of safety and in health, we can't have 20 children in the same classroom. While we might be able to fit the 20 desks in the classroom, it would not allow for any movement whatsoever, and the children would have to sit in their desks, in their chair all day long with their mask on, and that's not our plan. And that's a big difference between our plan and some other plans, is that we've put forth the thought and effort to put the children into smaller groups and to make sure that we can make this plan happen by bringing in aides to support through classroom management, through academic support, and by helping the teacher. So there'll be two groups. And I try and sort of explain to people that it's effectively one class. There might be a wall between the two groups, or there might be a hallway between the two classrooms, but everyone's going to have their own class space, and the teacher and aide are going to work together. Every child is going to see the primary teacher at least half the day in the same room. Everyone's going to get direct instruction from the teacher every day. And the academic aide are people who are going to be able to support that and make sure that the learning occurs. And when you stop and think about it, that's not much different than the way if we didn't even have the aide. Because frequently in our curriculum, in the way that we design things, the teacher works with a small group and other students might be working independently. This is even better. The teacher might be working with a small group and the other students have access to an aide. The health and safety of our children in the building has been of paramount importance to us since we closed down on March the 13th. And what we thought was going to be a very temporary closure turned out to be one that has kept our children out of our school for 6 months. And in order to bring the children back, we had to make some changes to the building. And the parish made a substantial investment in putting air conditioning and ventilation. So we are currently installing a state-of-the-art air conditioning and ventilation system that will be in every school, every public place, every classroom, excuse me, and every public place in the building. So we will have fresh air pumped into the classroom and the stale air ventilated out of the classroom. This is a far better situation by all accounts than opening windows and doors or running fans that sometimes aren't ventilating, but rather circulating the air. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be. The air is to be ventilated out of the building. So the air will be conditioned. Certainly, I know the students and teachers will love that during September. It always seems to go up to 90, our first day of school. So we'll see if that holds true this year. But we expect that this will create a much healthier environment. Now, in order to also keep the children safe, we mentioned masks, and we really would like the children to bring masks from home. And there are specific masks or the structure of the mask which we will accept, and there's a couple that we want to definitely warn you about. Recently, the standard shifted, and for a while over the summer, having the the neck gaiter and pulling that up over the nose and mouth was thought to be efficient, and it's just not. The bandana is not efficient either. So we're really looking for those cloth masks, cover the mouth and nose. They can't be ventilated. Some of the masks that are on the market now have small ventilators in them, not good, because that will expel your exhale gets out there through the ventilation. So we don't want that. No slits, and the 3-ply masks are the best. Now, my advice and counsel is that each student bring with them multiple masks, and they have with them in their backpack multiple masks every day, because the masks are going to get soiled. If they cough or they sneeze within the mask, it has to be changed. If they drop the mask on the floor, they should probably change it. And just by using the mask, it gets soiled. Listen, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So having your child bring in multiple masks, excellent. We also want them to be comfortable with the mask. So if you have not found a comfortable mask for your child yet, please make sure that you begin to do that, and you make sure that they're good about putting it on and being able to wear it for a length of time, get them comfortable with it. We will be going over how to wear the mask as well with the students for a number of days at the beginning of school. And again, if someone doesn't remember their mask, we have PPE here available at school for the children. That's one of the requirements that we have from the state and the Department of Health. We need to have a supply of PPE that's based upon the population of the school. So we're not allowed to stockpile, so I won't say that we're stockpiling, but we have plenty of PPE to start the beginning of school. And before I go any further, I know one of the questions that people are asking is, when does school start? When is the first day of school? So right now, we are planning on Thursday, Thursday, September the 10th, is going to be the first day of orientation, and only half of the students will be coming in that day. And we're going to set up a schedule, and you're going to get that shortly. But we'll have half the students from pre-K, all day pre-K 4 up to 8th grade will come in. It's not going to be the lower kids first and then the upper kids later. It's going to be representatives from every grade level, because we need to see how this plan is going to work with a smaller population. And we're going to do that twice. So we'll have half the children in on the 10th, and they're going to come in for half a day. Dismissal will be about 11 o'clock, I imagine. We're not going to eat lunch. So they'll come in for a few hours. During those few hours, they'll go through an orientation with their teachers. We'll go through some instructions. We'll allow them to take a look at the classrooms. We'll be able to do a lot of things with those smaller groups. So that's Thursday, the 10th of September, Friday, the 11th. Your child will just come in for one of those 2 days. Then on Monday, September the 14th, will be the official first day of school where everybody's coming in, the all-day pre-K 4 through 8th grade. The part-time pre-K 4 and part-time 3-year-olds I know are going to be on a slightly different schedule that week of the 14th. And I know that that schedule will be coming out. And then their regular schedule begins the 21st, the following week. But like most schools and most districts, and I think that this is true all around, we're looking at Monday the 14th as our first official day where everybody is here and it's a full day. So we won't, I know some districts are thinking about starting the first week remotely. We're not doing that. We expect the school will be ready by the 10th to accept students, and it will be healthy and it'll be safe. I know some people have asked, can we see pictures of the classroom? Can we see pictures of the school? And yes, you will absolutely get pictures of your classroom. You will get pictures of your school. In fact, if our timeline schedule does work the way we expect it to work, we should be able to schedule visitations that first week of September prior to Labor Day. So those last few days before Labor Day weekend, we expect that we will be in proper shape to have you come in. I will not send you a picture of what the school looks like now. If you were to see a picture of what the school looks like now, you would never send your child here. So I cannot show you that. But please know that the projects are getting underway. Well, underway. They've been underway for a month and a half now. They're being completed. We've upgraded our wireless system as well as our air conditioning and ventilation project. So we've added wireless access to the gymnasium and to the cafeteria, and that's very important because we're going to be moving the middle school into the gymnasium and into the cafeteria. And I'll go into that a little bit more. We've gone over no commingling of cohorts. And that's very important, and it's very important because of spread. And I know some people have questions, well, what happens if somebody gets sick? And we'll go into that a little bit later. But because we are not commingling, because we are not creating scenarios within the school during the school day where children from multiple grades will be with each other, in case there is a case, we have a much better control on who our students interacted with. And that is a much better way to try and find the spread and trying to find the contact tracing that would need to take place. So no commingling of cohorts. And also no hand washing with soap and water. Please understand, soap and water is the best way still to disinfect your hands. And washing your hands for 20 seconds. We have signs up in every bathroom, at every sink, all over the school as to how to properly wash your hands, how to properly disinfect your hands. but not every classroom has a sink. Not every classroom has quick access to a sink. And unless the hands, or if the hands are not noticeably soiled, you can use hand sanitizer of at least 60% alcohol to disinfect the hands. And so those stations will be available for students throughout the building, in classrooms and in the hallway, but that also is only with adult supervision. I want everyone to remember that alcohol-based hand sanitizer, if not used properly, really can be injurious. You know, if a child hasn't let it evaporate enough and rubs their eye, that's going to be painful. Okay, it's flammable. So prior to recent years with some major infections happening in schools, hand sanitizer was not allowed in school. It was not something that was permitted. It is now, but it's permitted under close adult supervision and through the education of children. So we will be teaching all of the children how to properly use hand sanitizer, how to properly wash their hands. Okay? Classrooms and the entire school building will be cleaned and disinfected numerous times a day. Virtually every time the classroom is empty, we will be disinfecting and cleaning it. So through teaching, the availability of hand sanitizer, allowing the children to wash their hands in the various sinks around the building, we will remain safe throughout the day. When you arrive in the morning, I mentioned earlier we're going to have 4 entrances that will be used by the students. And this is a very important change that we have to follow, because the State Education Department, Department of Health, they really impressed upon schools that we're able to change how students enter and exit the building. They don't want students coming in and leaving the building through one entrance at the same time. I'm sure you've all seen pictures, I think, coming up from some high schools in the South that had opened up, and the kids moving down the hallway kind of as a herd. Well, if you've ever seen dismissal at St. Thomas, that's pretty much what it would look like at times, where the kids were all bunched up and they were walking down the halls and they were next to each other. That we can't do that anymore, arriving or dismissing. So we're going to have 4 different entrances. Now the pre-K, the kindergarten, and grade 2 are going to use the back entrance that pre-K parents might remember would be used for their drop-off and pickup during the winter. That's going to be their entrance, pre-K, kindergarten, and 2. Grades 1, 3, and 4, you're going to enter from the flagpole entrance, those glass doors down at the other end of the school on Adams Place near the flagpole, the school sign. Grades 5 and 6, you're going to get dropped off on Adams Place, and you're going to, after your temperature is checked, and that goes for all of the students, you're going to walk in it's the emergency door out of the cafeteria. And that's going to be your area, 5th and 6th grade in the cafeteria. That's your home base. And then 7th and 8th grade, you're going to go through the kitchen glass doors, which are sort of face the driveway. But again, you'll be parking parents on Adams Place. Temperature will be checked. They'll walk up the sidewalk and they'll walk in those doors and into the gymnasium. The gymnasium is where we have grades 7 and 8. Okay. Now, with arrival to school, we highly recommend parents that you drive and pick up your children from school each day. I understand that some schedules will not permit that, in which case you will need to have your district transportation get your child to and from school. But all of the districts are asking parents, if it's not necessary for you to If it's not necessary that you take the bus, please don't. Please drive your child in. And I couldn't agree with that directive more. The bus will be commingled, and that becomes problematic on a number of levels. But there are also very limited seats on the bus. So they can't run buses like they used to. And I think as a community, as a group, we have to come together. We have to understand this. Let's reserve the buses for those that really, really need them, because there are families that absolutely need them. They don't have cars, or their work schedules are such that they cannot possibly drive their children to and from school. But if you have a schedule that allows you to do that, or if you can adjust your schedule slightly to do that, we really do recommend that. Now, in order to work with you on this, the arrival and times for students will be anywhere between 7:30 and 8:15. There'll be a 45-minute window in the morning when you can drop your children off. Now, our plan at this point is to not assign drop-off times for parents in the morning. That's our plan. And the reason for that is there seems to be, over my 20 years here at St. Thomas, there is a particular rhythm of when children are dropped off at school. And there's never a mad rush. And there's always a mix of grades. So I'm not anticipating in the morning that if we give you a window of 45 minutes when you can drop your students off, my feeling is that we will not have any bottlenecks. Now, best laid plans, of course, but that's why we're having those Thursday and Friday orientation days. All right, so I just want you to follow your normal morning routine that day. Everybody doesn't have to rush here at 7:30, and everybody doesn't have to be last minute Lucy coming in at 8:15. So if we just do what we do normally during drop off, I think we're good. Dismissal is another thing. Dismissal will have to be staggered, because when we say dismissals at 2:40, well, everybody's there in the car line, or everybody's there been waiting in the lobby, which won't be happening, and all the buses are waiting for the kids to load up, all at 2:40. That's not going to happen. We're going to have staggered dismissal times between 2:30 and 3:15. So those will be assigned according to your schedule. So we will put things out, you can sign up. It'll be like a 10-minute window, we're assuming, and that should work according to how we want it to, with only a certain number of parents here at any given time between 2:30 and 3:15 picking their children up. I know for a lot of older children, that 3:15 time might really work out well. We won't be able to have after school clubs like we had previously, but from 2:30 to 3:15, they stay in their cohort, they stay in their classroom, and that can be time that they can get homework done, or they can ask for extra help if that's available. So that actually is a pretty good situation, I know, for a lot of families. But 2:30 might be a very good time as well. So anytime between there, and we will have a schedule for you. So in the morning, when you are dropping your child off, I know this question came up yesterday, and imagine I just read it here on the Q&A as well, and it's a good time to talk about it, so I won't wait till the end. One of the nicest things we used to be able to do was have parents in the pre-K walk their children into the classroom. And unfortunately, we just can't do that anymore. We really have to limit the number of people who enter this school building, and we have to adhere to that. So the goodbye point is going to be at your car. We just can't allow for parents to come into the building. So we do want, however, that week before Labor Day, we want to use that time to get parents into the building and to see the classrooms and to have the children become comfortable with the layout of the school. And that really is our plan. And we will do everything we possibly can to make sure that that happens. So unfortunately, parents cannot come into the building like we once did, whether that's picking up for lobby, saying goodbye in the lobby, walking kids into the pre-K classroom. We just can't do that. We will have people who will walk your child from your car to the classroom. They won't be walking alone down the hallway. The pre-K 4 class, the all-day class, that there's a door right into the classroom, right in that vestibule. I mean, that's a quick way right in for pre-K. The pre-K 3 and 4 will have a staff member that will greet you at the door and will walk you down to the classroom. So they'll see a familiar face right at the door. As soon as the children come in, they'll be offered hand sanitizer to disinfect their hands. We'll take care of that. So that's as they come into the building. Okay. And as I said earlier, students, I want to get through this slide. Students in full day pre-K to grade 4, they're in the 2 cohort groups, no more than 10. Part-time pre-K 3 and 4, we have the room set up so that that class size won't exceed 13, and that still allows for social distancing. And for middle school, grades 5 through 8, we talked about separating the gymnasium, which we've done, separating the cafeteria, which we've done. There's a very large built-in partition that runs through the cafeteria. We have portable room partitions that have separated the gym area. We had the town of Bethlehem come in. They took a look at everything and they said, yes, that's fine. That's not an alteration. And they said, yes, these are fine for setting up in the classroom. And that was, for a lot of places, a difficult thing because they had to separate large areas and some were wondering how to do it. Luckily, we had those room partitions already. We didn't have to buy all of them. We still have to buy a few more for what we have to do. But having those partitions allow us to separate the classes. So that's in the middle school grades. Now, the middle school grades will move from area to area, and each time they move from area to area, their space is disinfected. So as each child comes in, they will one at a time be at their locker, put their coats away, their backpack and all the materials they'll need for the day comes with them and is with them at their desk because they'll carry that with them to the different, I'll call them classrooms, as that's what they're going to serve as. And so the first 2 periods from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, the students aren't moving. They're going to be right where they are. And then at 10 o'clock, they will stand up. They will line up, and the disinfectant will be applied to the chairs and the desks. Nobody's going to move. Once the classrooms are disinfected, they will move in a clockwise fashion, I imagine, from room to room. Around the circle they go. And as they enter the new learning area, they are seated by the teacher. There's no grouping, there's no crossing. We keep them 6 feet away from each other. And that's the protocol we're following in those classrooms so that we're able to ensure that students do remain 6 feet away from each other. They're walking with clean hands, they're walking with masks, they're walking into rooms that have just been disinfected. We are very confident that what we are doing is going to ensure that children remain safe throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the months that we are doing this. So this has been a pretty busy morning. The children have come in, they've had their temperature checked, they've made their way to the classrooms. They're in small groups of 10. They're not sharing any pencils, they're not sharing any pens, they're not sharing any markers or glue sticks or erasers. They are sharing barely anything at all in that room. So the supplies you buy for your children, those are going to be their supplies. Nobody else is going to touch them. No one else is going to have access to them. They are going to be your child's. Okay. When it comes to particularly the younger children, but really any time that manipulatives might be used, you might use plastic coins or 10 blocks or things that are used in math. Any manipulatives or anything that's handed out in the classroom is handed out on an individual basis. And it is not circulated again until it's been disinfected. So if I have a 5-year-old in the kindergarten or first grade, even second grade, and that child wants to play with Legos. Well, historically at St. Thomas, the Legos would be in a big plastic tub. And the kids would just be digging around in there trying to find the piece they want. And they'd be close to each other and their heads would be bonking and their hands would be touching and they'd be all over the Legos. We can't do that anymore. Can't do that right now. Hopefully we'll be able to return someday to that because that's a lot of fun. And that's how kids learn best, when they're learning together cooperatively. But it's not completely finished. So what we are designing are smaller baggies, say, that will have a number of Legos in it. And so those bags are handed out to the children. Now, that doesn't mean that you only get one bag. If you want to play with Legos, you might get 5 or 6, however many you want. Teacher obviously is going to regulate, but you're going to be able to take what you want in order to satisfy your curiosity and your creativity. However, once those Legos have been touched, once they've been used, they are not put back out into circulation until we've had time to disinfect them. So when the child is finished playing with something, it's collected by the teacher, it's collected by the aide, and it's put into the disinfecting bin. And honestly, schools are actually at the point where we'll at some point have a tub of disinfecting solution, and we really will just dip the hard plastic toys, those that can be dipped, and they'll go through the dip. We'll put them in a mesh bag and we'll dip it and hang them to dry. And that's going to be one of the systems for disinfecting a lot of these manipulatives, a lot of these classroom items. But again, if I've touched it, nobody else is touching it until it's disinfected. Now, some of the younger grades may have kitchens or activity centers or tables. The same principle applies. You don't have multiple children there at the activity table. So not everybody's going to be able to use the activity table every day. But schedules will be designed, and then once somebody does use it, it's completely disinfected before someone else uses it. If you're using things within the activity table, you're going to have your own pieces to bring over. So we are being very careful in the classroom that any time that there is the potential for a contact, that disinfecting is taking place. So with all of the disinfecting that has to happen and the fact that kids will be wearing their masks, we have to develop breaks, and breaks are going to be part of the schedule for all grades, pre-K through 8, where the children go outside. And these regular breaks, morning, midday recess, afternoon, kids can go out, they can get fresh air, they can take their mask off if they maintain social distancing. Activities will be planned for them outside. And the fact is, many classes will actually be held outside. And obviously, physical education, because we're using the gym for our middle school, physical education is going to take place outside. And it's going to take place outside as long as it's not raining and as long as it's not bitter cold. But it will take place outside if it is cold. So we really do need to ensure that the children come dressed and prepared for their outdoor PE class. But if it's raining, PE will be held in the classroom. And coach can do a number of activities where the children can remain socially distanced and they can get their PE in, okay? Classes are encouraged to be outside, not just PE, but if Ms. Chonsky can teach art class outside, she's gonna do that. If a teacher wants to bring the children outside for story time, they can do that and are encouraged to do that. The more time we can spend outside with our students, the better. That truly is the directive that's coming from state ed and from the Department of Health. Now, we're in the process of getting a large 20 by 40 catering tent. And that's going to be set up and inspected by the town of Bethlehem. And we're going to use that as a learning area and also as a place for shade during recess. So as the kids are spending more time outside, a lot of them are going to want to be in the shade, and they can't necessarily go in to the fenced playground area because all of the areas that are outside, whether it be the playground area for the early childhood, the climbing equipment, the kickball field, the basketball court, the foursquare, all of those things that kids do, we have to divide those areas up. We have to create borders. And so one area will be for one class, one area will be for another class, and we'll rotate through the schedule in that way. But we have the big grassy area across the street next to the church. We have the front lawn. We have the side area on the driveway. We have behind the school multiple areas that will be divided up. So as the children go outside for their breaks, and those are very, very important because that also goes to the social emotional learning that we are so concerned about at this point. These children have not been around one another for 6 months, many of them. They haven't been in school for 6 months. We know that there is going to be some major adjustments, major anxiety, major nerves are going to come up. Kids are going to be unsure. Our job is to assure them. Our job is to let them know that this is not going to last forever. This is not a forever thing. And once we get through this, things will become a little bit more like they remember them. But while we're here, while we're being asked to do this and directed to do this, we're going to do things differently. But that's all about social and emotional learning. Children getting to know one another again, getting back into talking and being with each other and knowing that this is not forever. And these breaks, these times where they're not doing their reading or their writing or their arithmetic or their religion, although those things can be done outside, there just has to be time for kids to be kids. And we are aware of that. And there are some tremendous materials that the diocese has made available to us, that other organizations have made available to us that we will be using with the children. So the social emotional learning will definitely be a part of the curriculum in September. But those breaks also really allow for us to disinfect and get in those classrooms. And we'll have cleaning staff throughout the day. Cleaning just won't take place before school and after school. It will take place all throughout the day. When classrooms are empty, it gets disinfected. Now we've purchased the Clorox 360 system. And I know those have been shown on the news as one of the most effective ways and efficient ways to disinfect large areas like schools. And so it aerosolizes the disinfectant. The disinfectant gets put on the surface and it disinfects, it does its job, and you move on. And so we can actually disinfect an entire classroom in minutes. And that's what we will be doing. So we've purchased the 360. It actually came in last week. A lot of them are back ordered, so we're very fortunate that we have that. So after the morning of learning, getting your academics in, you've had snack, you've had a break, and lunch will be in the classroom. So before snack, before lunch, hands are disinfected, hands are washed, tabletops are disinfected, desktops are disinfected and cleaned, and we're getting ready for lunch. And we're clean, and the classroom is clean, and we sit down at our desk, and we're socially distanced. We're 6 feet away from each other, and we take our masks off and we eat. And we drink our milk or we drink our juice box, and we have lunch in our classrooms. And eating the lunch in the classroom means that, once again, we're not commingling classes. So if anybody has an allergy, if anybody has any accommodations that need to be made, we make that. We make sure that happens. Remember, we've got the classroom set up with only 10 children in each classroom. There's plenty of room to spread out in those classrooms. And so we can make sure that happens. Someone has a question about hot lunch days. Yeah, I can answer that now about lunch. My hope is that we don't lose our hot lunch days with pizza. But I got to be honest with you, I have not been able to think about how it is that we can get pizza into this school and distributed to the children yet. So I am really open to suggestions on that because I know the kids love that. And I think that would be such a missed opportunity if we can't figure out how to do that. So if anyone has any ideas on how we can still provide hot lunch safely to the children, I'm open to all suggestions because that's come up more than once as we've talked about this, is are we going to do hot lunch? And I haven't been able to say yes or no because I haven't heard a plan or a protocol that would allow us to do it. But I do want that. And I think the kids want that. And we want to make sure that we can get that for them. So once a plan is in place, once the protocol is there, I will definitely do that. And then the other question is about milk, and the answer is yes, absolutely. If we're looking at, sorry, I'm clicking buttons around here. If we're looking at lunch in the classroom, milk will be distributed. We're not sure how it's going to be yet. We wrestled with the idea at one point of having mini fridges in the classroom and having their, supply of milk in there with them. That still may happen. I'm not sure whether or not we have the room in the classrooms that would allow for that, but that would really be, I think, in my mind, an ideal way to exist. So will milk, to answer your question simply, yes. How it will be distributed, I am not entirely sure yet, but that will happen. We will have milk deliveries, we will collect milk money, and that will continue on. Okay. So as we go to the day, afternoon comes and we are moving into the end of the day and dismissal, and am I staying or am I going home or staying in aftercare? Aftercare is a challenge, folks. This is not going to be an easy part of life at St. Thomas during reopening, because our after-school program was designed as a commingled program. So we had children pre-K through 8 all in the same area. We can't do that. We just cannot do that. And we can't do it because, God forbid, somebody were to become infected. We'd have to, I feel the Department of Health would say, you're going to have to close down the whole school because there's been so much commingling. We had last year, before closure, we had after school sessions where between 40 and 50 children, that's a quarter of our school, would stay after. That's a large after school program. That being said, we are not going to tell a family that their child cannot stay here after school past 3:15 if really there's nothing else that can be done. We will accommodate the child, but we can't commingle. So if there are a number of fourth graders staying, then they will all stay together. If there's only one kindergartner staying and they have to stay, you have to be aware, I won't put that kindergartner with anyone else. And so that kindergartner would really be in a one-on-one situation. But again, we're not saying we're not having an aftercare program. But please know it's going to be very, very different in the foreseeable future. Now, my hope, and this is one area, transportation's another one, but this is one area that I hope that as we move forward in this, and if numbers continue to remain low, that we will see that, yes, in fact, we can begin to commingle a little bit. And if that's the case, then things change. And that's what I meant when I said at the beginning, this is the way it stands on August the 21st, but it might not be the way it is on September the 21st or October the 21st or November the 21st. Things are going to change. I promise you that. We want them to change in the right direction. We want them to change in the direction that allows us more freedom. But right now, and we'll send out information and you can sign up for aftercare and let us know if you do need aftercare. But if you can pick your child up by 3:15, there's no charge for aftercare. You know, and again, if it's a situation that, hey, I got to stay until 3:30, we will work with you and we're not going to charge you $18 for 15 minutes. Okay? But you might have a work schedule. You've got to work until 5 or 5:30. Okay? We will work with you so that we know when you can get here. So bear with us on that, but know that we're not in a situation where you have to find aftercare for your children. It can be here, but it's going to be a lot different. And if your child was used to the aftercare from years past, please know it's going to be different. We're still going to have the same amount of love. We're still going to have the same amount of care. We're still going to give them the same opportunities. They just might not be with the same children that they had been before. So during dismissal, the staggered pickup times, we're going to arrange that with families so that you are here. We're going to have the same people outside for dismissal. We're going to see the car pull up. And we're going to call into the classroom and we're going to say, okay, Mrs. Kane is here for Tommy, so send him out. And Tommy will walk out with his mask on and he will get into his car. We will say goodbye and we will see Tommy again tomorrow morning. And we will check his temperature and he will come back into school. But that's the way it's going to work. We'll have the kids in the classroom. We'll know the 10-minute window during which we could expect you. Again, you're 2 minutes early, 2 minutes late, it's not a problem. We just don't want everybody coming at the same time because that would create a bottleneck and that would not be a way that we could conduct this dismissal procedure. So, so at the end of the day, bags will be packed, things will come home. I think someone had a question about rolling backpacks. Yeah, I'm not going to say they can't have rolling backpacks, but and the reason for that is those backpacks can be weighty. They really can for those middle school students. But please be aware that rolling backpacks do take up a little bigger footprint, and so we want to make sure that they're not too big. Okay, so less about the wheels and more about the size of them. Okay, but unfortunately, because the weight of the book, some kids just shouldn't be carrying around that much weight on their back. So yeah, the rolling backpack would be fine. And someone asked for a carpool situation. Actually, we will allow carpool situations. You might say, well, that's commingling. Well, it is. But that's easily traceable. And if you are carpooling with another family, wear masks. Okay, you're within 6 feet of each other, wear masks. Because we're not under an illusion that children have not been seeing each other over the summer. And we're not also having the illusion that children were seeing each other masked all the time. We know perfectly well children were within 6 feet of other children and their friends, and they didn't have masks on. We have children ourselves. We see things. We drive around town. We know what's going on. We know that children are close to children. We get that. But this is about tracing. It's about contact tracing. So if we know who is there, that's a lot easier to tell the Department of Health, hey, this person was with this person. And they can make an informed decision as to how we proceed. So yeah, carpooling is fine, okay? But please, please, please take those proper precautions, okay? And that really, and just as a educator, someone who now is going to be on the front lines, We want everyone to keep following what we've been doing, because whatever we've been doing in Albany County seems to be working, and those numbers are dropping. So whatever you've been doing, keep doing. And the wearing of the mask, you know, it is as sure a way to cut down on the spread as we know. So when you're in that car, when you're carpooling, please follow all of those protocols. So we'll make sure that your child is brought to the car, and things are taken care of, and you're on your way. So as things change, this is very, very important. Communication is going to become key. And I would venture to say, as parents, you should expect communication almost every day now from the school, updating you on things, keeping you aware of any changes that have been made. And that will be through faculty information coordinators, print resources, e-resources, websites, social media, e-blasts. Communication with any changes or updates will be made through multiple platforms. Someone asked a question yesterday, and I think it's an excellent question. Can we add some more emails, contact information to guardians, people who might be watching the kids, people connected to our kids' lives who are also connected to the school? And the answer is absolutely yes. This information is public. The reopening plan is public. Anybody can read it. Anybody can see it on our website. It is on a public area of our website. So that is the guideline. That's a mandate from New York State. We have to have these things. So if anybody needs more information, and also if you have people who might be picking up, or people who are watching kids after school, or whatever the situation is, yes, we want as many people on those distribution lists as we need, because we want things to run smoothly and we don't want people confused about anything. So communication is going to become very, very important. So when you do get an email from the school, and I know I'm guilty of this too, you see an email that comes from your child's school, you read the subject line, and if there's something in the subject line that doesn't immediately capture your attention, you say to yourself, I'll get to that later. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So please, please, please make a conscious effort, and I will too, to open up emails from my son's school, and you open up emails from us. And together we get through this with communication. Please know, those first few days of orientation, the first few weeks of school, we are going to have major in-person training on properly handling a mask, hand hygiene, respiratory hygiene, how to cough. What do you do after you sneeze? What do you do after you cough? Well, if you sneeze into your mask, you got to change that mask. If you blow your nose with a tissue, you have to wash your hands with soap and water. We're going to teach about social distancing. We're going to have visuals. We're going to have arrows. We're going to have colored tape. We're going to have circles. We're going to have signs. Everyone is going to be able to, for the rest of their lives, be able to just eyeball something and know what 6 feet is. And we're also going to train on how to identify those symptoms, so that if somebody does feel a little off, hey, guess what? We're going to get sick this fall, and it's not going to be COVID-19. But we have to be able to see and judge, what's the difference? Maybe you do have an upset stomach. Maybe you have a little stomach bug. That's not COVID-19. We have to know the difference. And so kids are going to have to be trained as to, hey, listen, if you feel this way, if you have this, come and tell the teacher, come and talk to us about it. And then we can go through the protocol. Okay. Honestly, and I know Governor Cuomo used to do this. He would switch out of governor mode and go into Andrew mode and talk personally. Just the numbers that we're hearing out of the Department of Health right now, and this is personal, Tom, the numbers we're hearing coming out of the Department of Health right now, and the people who are testing positive still remain those who have been in contact with others who were positive, those who are in populations that are most vulnerable, whether they be nursing homes, and people who have traveled out of state. Very, very few children, very, very few children seem to be carrying this in Albany County. So my expectation is, if we continue to do what we're doing, that's going to remain that way. So if a child is sick, at school, I'm not going to immediately think COVID-19, but I'm also not ruling it out. And that goes for that's really our standard, okay? And that's something we have to be aware of, okay? We want the kids in school, but we don't want them in school if they're sick. But sometimes anxiety masks itself as a stomach ache. Sometimes anxiety masks itself with a headache. And if that's happening, we can deal with that on a different level, okay? And that's all part of the training. Went through cleaning and disinfecting a little bit, but we're gonna go through it a little bit more. We have a ton of guidance that we are following on how to clean and disinfect. And that's from the EPA, it's from the Department of Health, it's from New York State Education Department. All over the place, we're getting guidance and guidelines on how to clean and what to clean. And we are following them. We are going to have the cleanest school. Nobody's going to be cleaner. Some may be as clean, but no one's going to be cleaner than us. We are doing everything that we need to do. And I am just very, very confident that because our cohorts are smaller, 10, pre-K through 4, and we have the situation set up the way we do in the middle school, we are going to stay on top of this. We have posters all over the place. We're going to teach children what to do. They will not be cleaning. They will not be disinfecting except for their own hands, okay? Children are not going to be touching disinfectants. They're not going to be given a wipe to wipe down their desk or their seat. That's not happening because it's not allowed to happen. Children are not in charge of disinfecting. That's our job. And we're going to take care of that. And the places that are going to be disinfected regularly, the whole school, bathrooms, health offices, administrative offices, all the places that are frequently touched, door surfaces, handles, touch pads, everything. Everything's going to be disinfected on that regular basis. All right. And that's every day. So we're increasing the size of our cleaning staff. We have to. We've invested, as I said, in the Clorox 360 system. We have to. It's the most efficient and effective way to disinfect. So we've taken this very seriously. A question on everybody's mind, I know, is school closure. What's gonna happen? Well, school closure is not my decision. As a building principal, that is not going to be a decision I make. I will be part of the decision, and I will have data that will help inform that decision. But that decision is going to be made by the Department of Health. And the Department of Health will be consulted if we have, for example, a confirmed case of COVID-19 here at St. Thomas. The first thing we do is we contact the Department of Health. And we say, one of my students, one of my staff has tested positive. What would you like us to do? And they're going to ask for a lot of data. They're going to say, okay, who had this person been in close contact with? And that would be the class, the students, what have you. Then they determine. And that smaller cohort, we only have as many as 20 kids. That's it. Middle school might be a little different. Younger grades, it doesn't mean that we're closing the whole school. We would only close those sections that the Department of Health tells us we need to. And what we're understanding, it would likely be send the kids home for a few days. If no symptoms occur, you come back. If symptoms do occur, you go see your healthcare professional. There is nothing in the guidance that says that St. Thomas should be telling people to go get COVID tested. That's not our role. As I said in the webinar yesterday, I went to school to become a teacher. I didn't go to school to become a doctor. I don't have the power to diagnose. My nurse does not have the power to diagnose. No one has the power to diagnose except the doctors. And those are the people who have to give you a clean bill of health. If you have to go home for any reason, or if something like that is asked for from the Department of Health, the doctor will determine whether or not you need to be tested. The school can't determine that. But we will be taking our lead from the Department of Health, okay? Hopefully we never have to face that. Hopefully that's not part of what is going to happen at school this year. but it could. And if it does happen, the Department of Health gets involved and we follow their direction. Everybody's in a lane here. And my job is to run the school and to run it safely. But if something does happen along the lines of an infection, then it becomes the Department of Health's job. Okay, and they get into that, and we follow what it is that they're saying. Okay. Yeah, I've gone about 10 minutes longer than I did yesterday, and so we're sort of at the end with Q&A. I've covered as much as I could in the time allotted. There is certainly more. There's 28 pages in the reopening plan that is published on our website. So what I would like you to do now, for anything you've heard, if there are any questions that you still have, please post them on the Q&A. Someone asked, will there be arranged drop-off pickup times for half-day pre-K? That's a great question, and the answer to that is no. We can actually still continue to run the half-day pre-K because the times are later than when the drop-off times will be for all-day 4s and through 8th grade. You guys kind of have your separate window, which is pretty neat. So we won't have to have those scheduled times. There'll be a window where you will be able to drop off, but you wouldn't have to sign up. Okay. Someone asks, how does extreme cold affect the temperature check at drop off? I got to be honest with you on this answer. I am praying that I am still not taking the temperatures of children when it is extremely cold. My feeling is this is one of those things that if numbers remain low, we won't be doing past the leaves falling. But that's a great question, because how are you going to be outside and it's extreme? I mean, are those handheld distance thermometers that you're blasting the forehead? Is that going to work in extreme cold? I don't know. But I do know that as the principal, I am really praying and hoping that we're not doing this once the leaves fall, that this is going to be a short-term thing. And the fact is that hopefully by that time we'll have parents in the mindset that they can do this at home, that you can keep the temperature check at home. But at the beginning, we're going to make sure that we're doing it. That's it. That's an excellent question. Another one is the hybrid approach, same days each week. The hybrid approach really is something that I would need to talk to individual families on as to why that would have to be. Because that would be, well, you're going into school one day, but you're staying home the next, and you're going into school one day, and then you're staying home the next. We luckily don't have to follow that, because we have room for everyone to be here face to face. So really the two options you have are face to face or remote. Now, a blended learning takes place if you're in a situation, and some families may be in this situation, where you can't get into school that day. You don't have transportation. You live too far away. Weather is bad. If you're in 5 through 8, you can log on from home because the teachers are going to be streaming their lessons all day long from school. You're going to follow your schedule. I have English at 8:30. I'm logging on to Miss Lapone's class. Boom, I'm there. I have math at 10 o'clock. I'm in Ms. Begain's class. I see Ms. Begain's board. I see Ms. Begain. I see what's going on in the math room. I'm handing my assignments in. I'm getting them back in a timely manner. So all of that takes place if you're not here. But the hybrid model really is reserved for some very, very special circumstances, which would have to be discussed with the middle school team, with me, so that we know exactly what's going on. But families do have a choice to make. And that choice is about whether they're going to be remote or they're going to be face-to-face. Now, I know how remote is going to look like in 5 through 8 because it's a pretty easy system, and the way that we have it set up, it works. Because the children are older, they can spend more time in front of a screen. And we have a set schedule every day. That's a pretty simple way to do remote learning. And the teachers are on board on that. The one that we're working on with the diocese is what remote learning will look like for K through 4. So if you are considering remote learning for your family, I definitely need to speak to you. We definitely need to have a meeting so that we understand what expectations are and what you're going to need to make sure that that happens, and what remote learning is going to look like K through 4. Okay. Somebody's saying that you have a suggestion kind of to uniform masks, that others might be a distraction to other kids if they have things on them. And I can see that point. I'm going to have to come down on the side of right now. I would much rather have children be comfortable wearing a mask, and if it's something that has a print on it, that they be able to wear that mask. For a lot of the kids, there's going to be a lot of anxiety and a lot of nervousness that goes along with even having to wear the mask. But if the mask is a Batman mask, and that's the only one that Tommy Kane is going to wear, Tommy Kane is wearing a Batman mask. Because a Batman mask that might distract someone is much better than Tommy Kane having a fit and not putting his mask on and endangering the health or safety of others. So I appreciate wholeheartedly, hey, would it be great if we all had the same mask and it would be a standard, and that would be great. I'm not seeing that as an option, simply because of the anxiety that's going to be going along with the mask. So we really do, and the professionals have said this, pediatricians have said this, child psychologists have said this, make sure your child is comfortable with the mask. As long as that mask meets the standards that we're looking for, that 3-ply, no ventilation, no slits. We don't need any mask that allows you to stick the straw up there to drink your milk. That's not effective. That's a great marketing thing, but it's not effective. So we definitely want to make sure that the right mask is being worn. But once we know that it's the right mask, I think we all have to get comfortable with the fact that students are going to be wearing different masks. Okay. Clearly, we're not going to let masks in that offend, but we have to be open to the reality that people have different comforts, and people need to be allowed to wear that mask. That's first and foremost the most important thing. Okay. I don't see any more open questions in the Q&A, but there have been questions that were submitted on the forms that I want to make sure we're good. Someone said students have Chromebooks at home. If they're school Chromebooks, bring them back. We need to inventory them. If they're your Chromebooks, you don't have to be bringing them back and forth. So if you have a school Chromebook at home, please bring it in. We need to inventory it. And we really do need to inventory it, everybody. Here's the deal with Chromebooks. I have grant money that I was going to use to buy Chromebooks. Chromebooks are now back ordered until March 2021. You can't find a new Chromebook right now. If you want to order Dell Chromebooks, you can expect delivery on March the 2nd, 2021. Okay? We need all of our Chromebooks back. Once we have those inventoried, we will assign a Chromebook to each student. That Chromebook will stay at school. The Chromebook will be sent home if, for example, I went home and my father was traveling, and all of a sudden he's diagnosed. I'm not diagnosed. I've got to quarantine for 14 days. Okay? I've got to go to remote learning. That's going to happen. Okay? We might not have a confirmed case here, but someone may have to stay home for 14 days. That's 2 weeks of school, no matter when you go out. So you're going to have to get a Chromebook sent home. The other thing might happen is on Monday, we might get a call, some Monday, not this Monday, but some Monday we might get a call, and DOH says the numbers have just gone up. we've got to close the school down for a week. Okay, fine. Everybody goes home with the Chromebook. And that very next day, we're remote learning according to the schedule. Okay? All of that is going to be in place day one. You will know that schedule day one. And so if we are in a situation where you need technology, we're going to make sure you have it. Okay? Just going through the questions that had been submitted on the form, making sure I've answered everything. Will you be able to bring their children to classrooms on the first day? You just won't be able to. Okay? We can't have visitors in the school like we once did currently. Hopefully, there'll be a day soon this year that we can do that again, but you cannot walk your children to the classroom on the first day. Hopefully, during that week before, during orientation, we'll be able to do that a little bit better. So transportation later this year, someone's asking, is there going to be transportation coming from, like we had a run coming from Greene County. I was just on the phone with Mary from First Student, and we both know once the guidelines change where we can have a full bus, yes. I've spoken to the diocese, I've spoken to First Student, and the answer is yes. We will be able to do that, but things have to change with the guidelines first, okay? The school districts are going to follow our schedule for busing. That was another question. We went over traffic flow. Someone asked if there's going to be a police officer in the morning. I sure hope so, but I can't guarantee it. But it would sure be nice if someone were out there. We went over carpooling. If you pick up your child early or bring them in late, how's that going to happen? You're going to call from your car. We're going to come out. We're going to take your child's temperature. If you're arriving late, we're going to walk them in through the door that they have to go through, okay? If it's a situation of you picking your child up, you're going to send that note in, send in that email. I have a dentist appointment. I have a doctor's appointment. I have to pick up at 1 o'clock. Great. You call us when you're at the pickup spot and someone will walk your child out, okay? Will there be a school nurse available through the day? This is the part of the webinar where I educate parents that a school nurse is not a right in New York State. In fact, more than half the schools in New York State do not have a full-time nurse. And that is really surprising to a lot of people because you figure, well, a school nurse, that just goes along with schooling. It doesn't. The only rules about school nursing is that it has to be equitable between public and private schools. In other words, Bethlehem provides us Mary Ann Bruno, and she's been here at St. Thomas longer than me. She is an employee of the Bethlehem School District, and Bethlehem gives us Mary Ann Bruno on an equitable basis based upon our student population and according to the equation that they've used for the rest of their district. So we have Mrs. Bruno here 3 days a week. And she's not even here all day, 3 days a week, but she's here for most of the day. But you have to understand that 3/4 of our school population as teachers, we're trained in basic aid, CPR, use of the AED. We know how to take care of basic aid. Anything beyond basic aid, we're calling you as a parent. Or if it's more serious, we're calling 911. We're doing exactly what Mrs. Bruno would do or Mrs. Kayayan would do. So we have Mrs. Kayayan, who is a school employee, and she's going to be here when Mrs. Bruno's not, as much as possible. So I don't know that I'm going to have a nurse here all the time, but we will have nurses here more than we have had in the past. And we're all being trained on protocols for if somebody's sick. We have a sick room. We have an isolation room. In fact, we're going to have 2 isolation rooms, and we have a well room. We have the TLC room. Okay. Another thing came up. What's the name of the app? I wish I knew it. It's being put to us or sent to us from Educational Vista. I have no more information on that at this point, but I know that it is being used by a number of larger districts as well. I know some of the BOCES have created apps and are using the same as well. And then the question is, will there be band? Yes, but it's virtual after school. Paul Effman is providing lessons starting at the beginning of school, and you can sign up for it, but we will not be running band or lessons here. There's just not the space. You have to be 12 feet away from each other if you're playing an instrument with through wind. You're playing the clarinet, the flute, the trumpet, the trombone, the saxophone. You've got to be 12 feet away from it. We can't do that. But Paul Effman, and I know music, Jeff Stein taught piano virtually over the summer. He said it went well for a lot of students. It's not for everybody, but music isn't for everybody. But it is something that can be taught virtually. And that's what Paul Effman is planning on doing. All right. I went over the outbreak. This is a good one. If school is closed due to weather, like snow days, are we going to have to log on? Well, you're probably not going to have your Chromebook at home. But I'm going to go on record here. If it's a snow day, there's no school. No, God sends us snow days for a reason. And as teachers, we know that reason. Kids, you know the reason. Those snow days come, we need them. And so we're definitely going to need them this year. So no, if it's a snow day, we are not going to be in session. Okay? Yes, Chromebooks will be provided to students learning remotely. We are working with all families on your technological needs. If you are going to learn remotely, we will have a whole meeting about that with you one-on-one. Okay? We will go over all of that remote learning question. I think I went over that. So I think we've answered all of the questions that were submitted through the Q&A and through the form from earlier in the week. If nobody has any further questions, if we're in good place right now, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to wish you a very happy weekend. I'm going to thank you for your support and everything you've done. You guys have come up with some great suggestions, some great questions that are going to help inform a lot of parts of our plan. And that's what this morning was all about. I hope you are leaving this webinar feeling a little bit more confident, feeling more comfortable, and having most of your questions answered. If you do have any questions that you still have, please, please, please don't hesitate to shoot off an email to us, to Mrs. Murphy, to myself, to Erica, whomever, so that we can get that question answered. We want all of your questions answered as quickly as we can and as accurately as we can. So I want you all to have a blessed weekend. I want you to be able to enjoy time with your family. I just want to have everybody back as soon as possible, healthy, ready to go. This is going to be a great year at St. Thomas. We're going to be doing some remarkable things. And I got to tell you, it's different for these teachers, but a lot of these teachers are pretty excited about what they're going to be doing with the kids. And so I want that excitement to spread, and I want everybody to feel good about this. So I want everybody, again, have a great weekend. Have a great Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're available for any questions. Just fire off an email to me. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.